Okay, so the first thing we're going to put in our journals is something that you're going to use for the next assignment as well. So part one of this assignment is to make your foldable and get it in your journal. Then part two will be to make a flip grid showing me your journal so that I can see that you've got the foldable in. And then part three will be completing what I call a scavenger hunt, which is basically just questions that you're going to answer based on the foldable. So for today, we're going to do part one and part two. You're going to make your foldable, you're going to make a flip grid video. Then tomorrow you will use the foldable to answer your questions. So you do need this foldable to be completed. There are two ways. One is you can print out the document that I put in that looks like this, because I just made a copy of the completed foldable so that you didn't have to do all the gluing and pasting. So you can just print this out if you have that option. If you don't, then you can use any paper. Like this is just a piece of blue colored paper. You can just fold it in half. You know, like in elementary, it's hamburger style, right? So you can just fold it in half and you will just write the information on the foldable. Oh, there you go. Now you can see it, okay? So you would just write the information down. I understand it's a lot of writing, but you need this information anyway. It's a lot of review. So you can either print it out or you're going to have to copy down the notes in the foldable, and then you're going to show it to me in a flip grid. So if you do print it out, you're going to print it out, fold it in half so that 3 domains is on the front, and then you're going to fill in the domain names. I'm going to go over that with you as well. Okay, so pause the video and either print it out or get yourself a piece of paper to fold in half so that you can copy down the notes. Okay, so now that hopefully you've got your paper or your foldable printed out, we're going to fill this out together. Okay, and if you need to copy down all of the information, then you may want to pause the video and pull up the file that I have posted in Classroom so that you can go ahead and copy this down. Okay. All right, so we've got 3 domains, okay, and our first domain here says they are prokaryotes with different genetics and cell walls than bacteria. So a big key here is they are different from bacteria, okay, and another big key is that they live in harsh environments. If you see something that says they're similar to bacteria, but they're not the same, and that they live in harsh environments, that's definitely going to be your archaea domain. All right, so then the next one says prokaryotes that usually have a cell wall, reproduce by fission, round, spiral, or rod-shaped. And then it tells us helpful bacteria are found in probiotics. Harmful bacteria, well, this guy right here, he causes strep. And so this is just the domain bacteria. Okay, and notice that both of these reproduce asexually. So they reproduce by fission. Remember, that's where bacteria cells will replicate their DNA and split into 2. It's kind of like they just clone themselves. So that is binary fission. Okay, our last one, it says multicellular organisms with cells that have a nucleus. That's your big key there, have a nucleus. They can reproduce with mitosis or meiosis, depending on if they are sex cells or not. And they include all eukaryotes. So that's another big key. If it includes the eukaryotes, then you are in domain eukarya. Okay, so now there's our 3 domains. Once we open this up on the inside, we're going to divide our domains into the 6 kingdoms. Okay, so what you need to do is write your domains here. Okay, so our domains, well, first you're going to write Archaea. And draw an arrow to the first box because it's only broken down into 1 kingdom. Then bacteria is next. Which is also broken down into just 1 kingdom. And then finally, our last 4 kingdoms, they all belong to the same domain, which is domain Eukarya. Okay, and so we're going to have arrows that lead us back to Eukarya. So I just kind of do it this way so it can branch off. I need something to hold my paper. Okay, I had to get something to hold my paper still because it was moving around on me. Okay, so as I was saying, you're going to have arrows that branch off showing the 4 kingdoms that are under domain Eukarya. All right, so we've got our domains. Now we need to identify our kingdoms. So here it says prokaryotes are unicellular and they live in harsh environments. They reproduce by fission. And then it gives us some examples. Methanogens, they live in areas with a high methane gas. Halophiles live in areas like water with high salinity levels, which is high salt levels. They can handle a lot more salt than most other organisms. And then we've got thermophiles. They live in places like hot springs. If you notice thermophiles, it kind of sounds like thermal energy. So again, we've got them describing those harsh environments, those extreme environments. So the kingdom's name is Archaebacteria. Okay, Archaebacteria. That doesn't show very well. Let me fix that. That is an H-A-E, Archaebacteria. Okay, so now for our domain bacteria, it describes prokaryotes. They're unicellular and are photosynthetic, which means they're autotrophic. They absorb food from they can absorb food from their surroundings. They reproduce by fission, again, and they can be round, spiral, or rod-shaped. So remember that binary fission is usually talking about a form of bacteria. This kingdom is called Eubacteria, and that U means true. So this is the true bacteria category, meaning they're different from Archaea. They are the true bacteria category. Okay, so our last section here, it's describing multicellular consumers, heterotrophs, no cell walls. This right here should give it away. You had to compare cells in previous years. You should be thinking something along the lines of an animal, and that is kingdom Animalia. Okay. Next, we have multicellular producers or autotrophs with cell walls. They're flowering plants, reproduce sexually. All others reproduce asexually. So that gives it away right there. This is kingdom Plantae. Okay. Then we have consumers or heterotrophs with eukaryotic cells with nuclei and a cell wall. That's a big key there. You need to know that they have a cell wall. Okay, just like plants. I know plants have cell walls too, but these guys have a cell wall as well. And so this is definitely going to be our fungi. And then finally, it describes unicellular or multicellular organisms, but they're not prokaryotic, they're eukaryotic. And a big thing about these guys, they cannot be classified as fungi, as plants, or as animals. These are protists. So it's called Protista. Kingdom Protista. Okay, so there we have our kingdoms identified and broken down within our domains. Archaea has archaebacteria. Bacteria has eubacteria. Eukarya has 4 kingdoms. Animalia, which is your animals. Plantae, which is your plants. Fungi, which is your decomposer, like mushrooms or mold. And then your protists, which are like algae and amoebas. So go ahead and get this glued down into your journal. This will be page 1 in your journal. So you would open it up and you would write domains. Oh, hang on a second. Okay. You would write domains and kingdoms. And that's going to be your page 1. And then you're going to turn to page 1 and you're going to get it glued down. And then you're going to show me that you've got it done in your Flipgrid video.